What's going on, guys? My name is Arrow, and in today's video we are doing our third and final 10 div challenge of the league, Snipe Deadeye. When I originally made the very expensive Snipe build, I immediately recognized that I was spending way too much money on things that were not massive upgrades. My first thought was I could probably do this build for 10 divines. So when I did the 10 divine challenge, I knew it was going to have to be one of the builds. For less than 10 divines, this build feels absolutely fantastic to the point where I've already started league start testing it. The Snipe gem enables a very interesting playstyle. Because Snipe is a channeling skill that can proc multiple attacks at the same time, you can make yourself a 6-link that will cast up to 5 attacks. Now, I don't recommend using 5 attacks. I found the sweet spot to be 3. And the reason that I use 3 is so I could do fire, cold, and lightning damage, and then get the benefits of the Secrets of Suffering keystone. The idea is Snipe allows you to channel up really high when you choose to and get massive hits. These massive hits will then allow you to get maximum effect of Scorch, Brittle, and Sapped from the interrogation. So while just mapping, you don't have to channel very long to proc multiple skills, and then when you get to a boss, you channel up to max, hit him once, get a huge hit, and then you attack a few more times, and they have all the effects of those big hits. It's a playstyle that requires a little bit of getting used to, but with enough attack speed, you channel to 3 so fast that it's almost unnoticeable. A single click will give you 1 to 2 stages of your snipe, and if you hold it just a hair longer, you're going to get up to 3 and release all 3 of your attacks. Now, this all, of course, is all dependent on your attack rate. One of the big goals here is to get really incredibly high attack speed, because your channeling speed is directly linked to your attack speed. Snipe has a built-in 1.8 multiplier to attack speed, so if you get a fast attacking bow like a thicket base, it makes this even better. The more attack speed you have, the faster you get to 3 stages, and you can release and use all 3 of your attacks on enemies. The League Start version that I've been preparing to test uses a Quill Rain, and with no other added damage already has 1,000,000 DPS. I'm super excited to actually get it and test this. I have not played it yet, but I do have a PoB that's somewhat ready to go. But yeah, a Quill Rain and literally no other items will get you 1,000,000 damage. So we're going to be doing some testing on stream. You should come and check it out. Twitch.tv/AER0___. I'm live almost every single day, so come say hi. So I already have a video on how Snipe works, so this is going to be a much shorter video, but I did want to showcase it as a 10 divine build. So let's jump in. We'll talk about some of the gear pieces, and it'll be fairly quick. It won't be a full breakdown of everything. If you want more information, you can go to my previous Snipe Deadeye video from a couple weeks ago. So let's go. Okay, so the core idea is very similar. You want to get a big flat damage bow with tri-elemental damage and good attack speed and some crit chance. And this bow is nothing special, particularly at this point in the league. It is tier 2 lightning, tier 4 cold, and tier 3 fire. I bought this as is for less than a divine, but the attack speed is super important. The crit chance is not as important because we actually, with Brittle, easily overcap our crit. I don't know what the actual balance is, and of course it's going to depend on your gear, your level of investment, but in PoB, mess around with the crit chance and see what's right for you and your gear. Death Rush, obviously incredible for any mapper. We are using Berserk buff effect this time instead of rage loss per second, because I find that this is just a little bit more efficient. This gives us more move speed, more damage reduction, and more attack speed. Here's Truth with a very cheap enchant on it. You can go for something with a little bit more damage. The bow, something you want here is big flat damage, life, prod speed, attack speed, crit multi. The crit chance is probably wasted on this, but this is a decent quiver. Obviously the build is kind of focused around the Calm Spirit, so we have full rage uptime. Of course, rage on left click. Something I didn't explain in my last video that's very important. You have to have attack without moving on in order to have Berserk on your left click, or it simply does not function. So a lot of these pieces are just going to be giving us either resistances or life regen. So on our belt, just a bunch of res and life. Our boots, a bunch of res, a bunch of life, and life recovery. And then some more regen and resist here on the ring. I don't currently have a ring that has minus mana cost. It probably would make things a little bit easier, but I found that I don't actually need it. When I'm hitting things, I have a ton of mana leech, including instant mana leech on the tree. But we are using Anomalous Snipe. This gem is very cheap. And then Ice Shot first, in my opinion, is best. And then Burning Arrow and Lightning Arrow are kind of interchangeable, what you have second and third. probably lightning arrow second and burning arrow third. I've tested a bunch of different setups. Burning arrow is the most damage. Ice shot seems to be the best for clearing, but some people prefer lightning arrow. I like freezes, so that's up to you. And then as far as the other gems in here, inspiration is really nice to keep the mana cost down. Crit damage feels mandatory. I actually think getting minus mana cost on the ring, removing inspiration, and putting in a awakened chain support is going to be the best for mapping. Now, this is basically a mapper. It can kill bosses. It's not super effective at it at this low of a budget with the way that I have it set up, designed for speed. But awakened chain, even though this is an extra 1.2 divines, this is not in the POB. The footage that you saw was not using awakened chain. It was with increased crit damage, but just know that awakened chain makes clear feel really, really nice, especially once you get your damage a little higher, that dropping something like inspiration won't affect your damage. We have Cull in our Mana Forge setup, as well as Power Charge on crit. You want to throw in a life tap support here, so this goes off all the time while you're channeling. It's just firing your frenzies, which is really, really nice. Lastly, Phantasmal Blink Arrow in here. This gives +1 cooldown. This is the only way that I'll use Blink Arrow if it has multiple uses. Linking this with something like Enhance in the endgame is very, very powerful. Depending on how much mana you have, you may or may not need to use all these life tap supports that I have on things. I've changed a lot of things around. I probably actually don't need them anymore, so that would open up some gem slots for things like Enhance. On the tree, still Deadeye. The chain is incredible. Chain off walls is incredible. Additional projectiles is mandatory for us. And then Gathering Winds for tons of speed, and Focal Point makes our Sniper's Mark way more effective. As I said in the first video about this, the Secrets of Suffering would be the way that I built it if I built it a second time, and boy was I right. For very little investment, you can get a ton of damage, including damage reduction. So you hit that boss, you get 6% flat critical strike chance, which is massive. It doubles the flat that you get from your bow. It lowers enemies' resistances by up to 30, which for this build is phenomenal. We use Tri-Elemental. We don't have a ton of penetration, so getting 30 lowered resistance for all 3 types is very, very strong. And then you get a full sap on enemies, which makes them deal 20% less damage for 4 seconds. So that means every 4 seconds, if you hit them with a big hit, they're going to deal 20% less damage. If you were to invest in this a little bit more, you're going to get those full ailments on all kinds of bosses. Martial Prowess and Feed the Fury, these are just good damage. And then Streamlined and Eye to Eye, again, just a little bit more prod speed and damage. This Lethal Pride was very cheap. Things like life, got 3 max life, some regen, some double damage. Regen is really nice for our Calm Spirit setup. And then we've got a little bit of Fizz taken as, and you can just get a lot of good stuff on a Lethal Pride. So mess around in POB with the Timeless Jewel Calculator. As far as tattoos, some of these were already in here from a previous build. I re-rolled to this. So like these prod speed, I did not add these. You definitely don't need prod speed tattoos on this build. The prod speed is high enough, but they are always nice. Having more prod speed on a bow build is never going to hurt you. And then I didn't solve my strength and intelligence issues on this build, unfortunately. With the budget I had, I just couldn't quite figure out the best way to do it. But if you get better gear, it'll just be easier to get your stats on gear pieces and not needed on the tree. So I have some tattoos for all attributes in here. These are included in the price of the build. It's still under 10 divines with all these tattoos, but you do not need all these tattoos. A lot of these are just small solutions. A couple of life ones. These were on the build before too. The chaos resistance ones were also on the build before, and we are up to 74 chaos res, which actually feels quite nice, but you do not need this much chaos res. So tattoos are obviously optional, but they do help solve problems and keep the build price down. I think I spent about a div total on these if you were to add them all up, maybe a div and a half. I didn't actually do all the math, but again, the attribute ones are not necessary. Just get better gear. As always on these types of builds, I am building for a 10 divine budget exactly. You do not need to do that. There is no reason to just make a build with 10 divines. So put a little bit more into it. I just want to use these builds as a proof of concept of what you are able to do with 10 divines. And if I had 12 divines, I would have, a tier 1 strength roll on one of my gear pieces that would solve just about all of these strength issues. That's all for this video. I basically just wanted to give a follow-up to my original Snipe. I did play this. I did a ton of maps with it. The playstyle is something that requires a little bit of getting used to, but it is very, very smooth. Once you get used to it, it almost feels better because you have access to more damage anytime you want it. If you want to do a really big hit to a rare monster pack that you run up to, you can. When you see a white mob pack, one click will do it. A blue pack, maybe you channel a little bit longer. You know, from 0.15 to 0.18 seconds is really the difference between 1 and 2 stages. So then you'll fire more arrows out. Once you get used to the playstyle, which I am now, it actually feels really nice to have access to that more damage when you need it. It basically makes it so you can one-shot most packs depending on how long you channel. So thank you for watching. If you have questions on this build, stop by my Twitch, twitch.tv/AER0__. Please like and comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you like this content. It helps me make more of it in the future. So that's going to be it from me. I am working on a very, very expensive build for the first time in a while. I'm talking Mage Blood and some other cool gear. So come check out the Twitch and there will be a video coming soon on that. Also, starting on Monday, I will be dual streaming to YouTube as well, because Twitch just lowered the ban on multi-streaming. So to all you YouTube users out there who don't want to come to Twitch, you're gonna be able to check out my live streams. So thank you for watching. And as always, take care.